This is the one I'll be putting to use today. Beautiful flavors, yeah? And if you don't know, Steve, the owner, is the first and probably the only black Jamaican winemaker, not just in Ontario, but all of Canada. If you've been following me for a while now on social media, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or the website at caribbeanpot.com, where the printable recipes are usually found, you know I have shared several recipes with oxtails before. It's one of them things, even though the price went up and everybody's trying to kind of jump the scene with the whole oxtail thing now, it's something we've been doing for a very long time in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica. Now here's the thing, this is unlike any sort of Caribbean recipe you'll see, and I'll explain why later on. But what we're going to do is, we have 3 pounds of oxtail here, and you can see the sizes that it's been cut up. So the bigger pieces has been cut into 1-inch pieces, and in half as well. And then the tail is the tail parts itself, it's about 1.5 inches long. Just grab my cloth here. And unlike in previous recipes where we seasoned and marinated it overnight, I'll just go in a bit tighter so you can see what's going on there. This one is a little bit different. What we're going to do is start it on the stove, and then we're going to slowly braise it in the oven, just for convenience sake. Salt, and we will add more salt later on, so just to compensate a bit more. Salt, black pepper, and at this point you're going to say, well, Uncle Chris gone Caucasian all the way here, and he's just doing the recipe like all them other chefs they see online and stuff. Well, later on you'll see the seasoning. But flour, we will add some all-purpose flour. And by the way, the oxtail, 3 pounds as I said, and it has been washed with cold water and the juice of 2 limes. If you don't have limes, you can use lemons, or if you wanted, you can use vinegar, a cup of vinegar with some cool water, and you would wash it. All I will do now is give that a good toss in there. And the flour will do 2 things. It will help us in the browning process to help get a crust, but more importantly, later on, when we start braising it in the oven, that flour is going to, sort of a thickener. So our gravy will be nice and thick, because we're not putting butter beans or anything else in here. What you can put later on is some carrots, but that's totally up to you. So all I'm going to do now, and I'm making them, I always do that, all over the stove, flour going all over the place. But anyhow, I done already into it. So there we go. Notice how nice and coated. I've got my oven proof here, something with a lid that can go into the oven. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil in there, medium flame, and all we're gonna do is start adding pieces of that oxtail directly to the pot here. And what we're gonna do is try not to overcrowd the pot, and maybe do it in about 2 or 3 batches. And all you want to do is sort of brown it on all sides. I'm going to do 2 batches, I believe. And try not to shake it or anything. Give it a minute or 2 after you put it in there. Then you're going to start moving them around every couple minutes until you get a sort of a sear on all sides. Remove them and continue. About 3 or 4 minutes per side. And I'm just removing them. Now you can see we got a beautiful sort of crust on it. So I'm just setting them aside now, and I'm going to do the second batch. Now what I forgot to mention is I got my butcher to trim most, if not all, of the fat out of the oxtail, because in reality we really don't need all that fat in our diet, right? And I don't know if all of you know anything, but Uncle Chris has been making a conservative effort to try and drop some of that weight that I've put on over the years. So what we're going to do now is just continue with that, adding the pieces in here. And later on, once we're all done browning the pieces of oxtail, any remaining fat, we'll still need about 1 tablespoon or so in there. We can take a paper towel and sort of blot it out, but for now, just to brown out the rest of them. The other ingredients we'll be requiring is some onion, scallion, fresh thyme and bay leaves, garlic, pimento seeds or allspice, I'm not sure how you call it, tomato paste puree, and that's a concentrated tomato paste, some brown sugar, and of course we gotta use that wine that we just found there. My heat is on medium. I've got about a tablespoon of that oil remaining in there. I did blot some of it out. Onion, garlic, scallion, thyme, pimento berries. I also like adding a bit more black pepper in here as well. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of salt just to help soften up the onion and to help it come along. I'm just going to turn my heat down to medium-low. Just a tiny bit of salt, because remember we did add some salt to the oxtail. And I'll also be using, and I don't think I mentioned it earlier, is some beef stock in braising this as well too. And that will have a sodium element in it. So I'm always mindful of all the ingredients that I use, the salt content and everything else. And this won't take long, maybe about 3 minutes or so, just to get that oil nice and fragrant in there, because we're building, this is sort of the building blocks for the longer lasting flavor, which will all come together in the oven. And again, preheat your oven to 325. Clear a spot in the middle, and to that spot is where you will add your tomato paste puree, and that is a couple tablespoons of that tomato paste puree. And the reason why I cleared the spot there is I want the tomato to be in contact with the bottom of the pot there to sort of caramelize and pull out the sweetness from that tomato paste. Just gonna mix that all around in there. So I really want that tomato paste to sort of toast, sort of caramelize on the bottom. They're releasing that natural sugar that's in there. And it's all about balance as well. So not only is it about the sugars, the natural sugars, there's gonna be a bit of acidity in there as well, yeah? I'm just going to allow that to go for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll continue. Rather than going with Scotch bonnet pepper for that raw heat, for a mild heat, a very delicious heat, I'm just going to add some chili flakes in there. That is totally optional. You don't necessarily have to do it if you don't want to, but I like spicy food, but this won't be incredibly spicy, but it will give me that nice little pick-me-up that I thoroughly enjoy. And you can really smell that tomato and the thyme and everything else. And as it cooks, that's when the garlic is really going to start happening, applying its flavor in there. The allspice berries, all those different flavors will start coming together. Just going to move that around, and we're just going to allow that to sort of cook down and cook out most of the alcohol while maintaining most of that fruity elements of that wine. This is when all of that beautiful oxtail is going to, drippings and everything is going to go back into the pot. Of course, we've got to really stir it and bring all those flavors in contact with the oxtail. Yeah. And I know a lot of people probably complaining, oh gosh, Chris, you're using metal in there, and this is what's comfortable for me, yeah? At the end of the day, it's what's comfortable and makes you comfortable in the kitchen. So I ain't stressing too much. All you want, all your wood spatula, go ahead. Plastic, whatever, go ahead. Kill trees and pollute the planet with all that plastic, and gosh, I can't believe all the butchering trees like that. But anyhow, and this is where we're gonna add that beef stock. And you want it about an inch. I'm gonna add some more, about an inch over the pieces of oxtail, and this way it will braise evenly in there without exposed pieces like that. Of course, later on in the oven, as the liquid dries down, and this is why we're going to put a lid. It's going to help create that steam. Steam is going to create moisture. Moisture is going to go back in there. So it's a sort of a cycle that's going to happen in there. But the point is, this is why you need a nice, invest in one, man, a nice cast iron glaze pot there, proper. As it starts coming up to a boil, I'm going to add my bay leaves, and of course that balance we spoke about, courtesy of some brown sugar, because again, it's all about balance when you're cooking. So we're just going to bring this up to a boil at this point, and then we're going to place the lid on there, because this way, as soon as it gets into that hot oven, it will continue cooking. So you're kind of helping the oven at this point, but we need to bring it up to a boil. It only took about 4.5 minutes or so on a medium-high heat to come up to a boil, and that's exactly where we want it. We're going to put the lid on, turn off the stove. It's going to go into the oven, middle rack, and again, oven proof. Everything is oven proof. What I must mention, these guys, to grab it, in and out of that oven, because sometimes, because it's not on the stove, we tend to forget that the sides will get hot, the entire pot will get hot. In about an hour time, you will check the liquid. At the 2 hour mark, you will check the liquid, but we're going for about 3 to 3.5 hours in total. But we'll just need to check on the liquid level. It's been about an hour or so, so I'm just gonna show you guys quickly what we got going on. And there we go. Yeah, just keep an eye on the liquid level as it happens in there. You may need to add some more liquid, but make sure if you're adding liquid, just gonna put the lid on. Make sure you add hot liquid. It's been just over 3 hours, and this is where we at right now. I did end up going in at the 2 hour mark, and I added an extra 2 cups of beef stock to things. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is a couple things. One, I'm gonna taste it and determine whether or not the salt is to my liking. The other thing is, and I did clean the spoon, if you guys are wondering. I did wipe it out. I'm just gonna hit that a quick little stir and determine whether that gravy is to my liking or not. And you notice how it's going to braise down there. What we can do is remove the bay leaves at this point. They've done their job. Well done. Job well done, fellas. Out you come. What I want this to do is to thicken up just a little bit more. Yeah, there's another bay leaf somewhere in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it back. Oh yeah, make sure it's fork tender. And I know this is fork tender because, if you notice, we've got a bone there. Yeah, that's going to come, boom, into the rubbish there. But anyhow, I'm going to leave it open for about 10 minutes in the oven. But before I do, I'm going to hit that with some chive along with some parsley. And I'm going to hit that a quick stir back into the oven just to thicken up just a little bit. And yeah, we eating. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you all in the kitchen with me. And what I have it served here with is with cuckoo, corn cuckoo. You've got to head over to CaribbeanPot.com for that recipe. But I do hope you guys get an opportunity to give this one a try. And you can see I'm pairing it with that Nyarai cadence as well too. So what we cooked with, it's what we're enjoying it with right now. And there's a lovely feature in this month's Vintages magazine. Down in the center. Look at that centerfold thing, boy. Anyhow. And there's Steve. And you can read all about him and the fine wines that he's making consistently past number of years.